And welcome everyone. So we're going to have several hundred people on the webinar today. It is a webinar. You won't be heard or seen, so don't worry about your camera. Don't worry about your audio, your sound. We won't hear you. And welcome you to introduce yourself. You can put your name and organization in the chat. We'll see your name, so even just where you're from and your organization, that's good too. And good morning to everyone who is saying that in the chat. Just kind of gives a good idea of where everyone's at and the organizations you're with. So we do encourage listing your organization too if you're part of an organization. I wanted to let you know that within a few days, we'll have the recording of this webinar, a PowerPoint of PDF compilation of all the slides. And right now, don't do it and leave, but you can go get an attendance certificate as people have been asking for those. You can already there on the website where you registered at earthquakecountry.org/March 26. It's down near the bottom of the page. So, and it's just a link, and you're going to want to download that. Don't just click it. The way that it works is you'll be able to download, and then once you have that file, you can click to edit your name onto that certificate. So we're not making customized certificates for a couple hundred people. We're allowing you to do that. And if you have questions or that doesn't work for us, for you, the way that that's provided, of course, you can contact us and we'll perhaps make one for you if you're having difficulties. So we're having a lot more people still joining and just giving a few more moments for that. Great to see everybody who's with us here in the chat, putting your name and organization, and really showing how people are attending from all across the state from many different types of organizations. There are over 300 people right now attending. We have a great group of presenters today. And just a little bit for those of you there, I know there are many of you, maybe this is your first Earthquake Country Alliance or ECA activity. We are a statewide organization, got created in 2003. We have committees, we have regional alliances, we get support from Cal OES through funding that comes from FEMA, the National Earthquake Hazards Reduction Program, and that supports our activities. And ECA is administered at the University of Southern California Statewide California Earthquake Center, which includes about 80 universities around the country, many, of course, in California, as well as partners at the California Geological Survey and the U.S. Geological Survey and other research organizations. Involved in our science, and then, of course, the support of many organizations, including all of you who work together to provide earthquake information, get your communities and your organizations prepared. Our agenda today, we'll be going through, it's what we saw on the website, so I won't read out all of this, but we have a lot planned, some updates from different organizations. And then our kind of feature presentation will be on tsunami hazards and preparedness from two excellent partners and presenters from the California Geological Survey and the California Offices of Emergency Services. You'll hear then a little bit about how you can participate in Tsunami Preparedness Week, as well as what you can do year round for improving tsunami preparedness, even if you're not along the coast, because people you know may go to the coast someday, and you should know what to do if a tsunami were to occur while there. If you've just joined, we're welcoming people to put your name and organization into the chat, and we're seeing a lot of that. And Lindsay, if you could just keep an eye on if anybody is asking any questions or pointing any issues or something, let me know. And I should say, my name is Mark Benthian. I'm the Executive Director of the Earthquake Country Alliance, and I am based at the Statewide California Earthquake Center at USC, as it says kind of right there in the middle on the top of that slide. And so right now I want to turn over to Jeff Airth with San Francisco Airport Emergency Management. And Ray Bonilla with Common Spirit Health and the city of Hayward. He's a city council member who are going to say some words on Dina Gunning, who was with them a co-chair of the Earthquake Country Alliance Bay Area. Jeff and Ray.
Thank you so much, Mark. Good morning. It's good to be with all of you. Um, I am one of the co-chairs, as Mark mentioned, for the Bay Area Coordinating Committee, and my colleague, Ray Bonilla. We just want to let you know that a few weeks ago, we lost our other partner, co-chair, Dina Gunning, and we just want to take a few minutes to just recognize her and remember her. Maybe many of you may have seen Dina or heard her in before, and it's just with sadness and shock that she departed from us. A lot of tributes have come in. I wanted to read just a short tribute that was sent by the the current president of the California Emergency Services Association, Jeff Duvall, who really put this into good words. He says this with deep sadness that we announced the loss of Dina. She was very active in the CISA coastal chapter throughout the statewide association and many committees and communities. Dina devoted more than 30 years to advancing emergency management throughout the Bay Area throughout her career, beginning with CARD in San Mateo County, which is a local VOAD of volunteers active in disasters. She was with the City of Oakland Fire Department, the Office of Emergency Services, San Mateo County Office of Emergency Services. She was also with Thrive Alliance, another very active VOAD. And most recently, she was the emergency manager with Central County Fire Department, the county here in San Mateo County. And for me, us in San Francisco Airport, our context with her is that the emergency management of two cities that are right next to SFO Airport, and we worked together for many years in making plans and doing a lot of collaboration. She was a lifelong resident of San Mateo County. Her commitment to this work was deeply personal, and she believed in the shared responsibility to prepare and protect our communities, professional at every level. She brought energy, vision, and unity to the regional Bay Area network. She was the president of the San Mateo County Emergency Managers Association, served on numerous Bay Area UASI work groups, the Joint Information System Leadership Committee. She was an expert public information officer, an instructor. She chaired, co-chaired the Bay Area CERT Coalition, BACC, and she was also very active, and I worked under her for the 2022 CISA Conference Committee, as well as the 2024, I believe, I hope I have the date right, National CERT Association Conference, which was here in Burlingame, California. Her leadership was grounded in real-world experience, including the 2010 San Bruno pipeline explosion. She consistently applied these lessons to strengthen coordination and preparedness across our region. More than her titles or accomplishments, she'll be remembered on how she showed up, how she was active, how she was very interested in helping out. She was collaborative, selfless with her time, and unwavering for her colleagues, and she mentored emergency professionals throughout the region. Her absence leaves a deep void in our community here. I was able to attend her funeral just last Friday, where many tributes came through, including her boss, Chief Dave Pucci, who is a fire chief with the Central County Fire Department. So we definitely will miss her. Her loss has already been felt greatly, and I just want to take a few moments just to bring this to you. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Ray Bonilla with a few remarks of his own. Ray?
Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and remembering Dina and the great impact that she's had. I've been thinking a lot about where to begin because it still just doesn't feel real. Just a few months ago, I was with Dina in Oakland for the Great Shakeout on October 16th. That's that picture you see there to the left. I got there around 8 in the morning, and of course, Dina was already there hours before me. I think she arrived like at 5 a.m. And if you knew Dina, that wouldn't surprise you at all. She was already in motion, setting things up, connecting with people, making things happen. Her energy, her warmth, her commitment to this work, it was all on full display that day. And that's what makes it so hard to comprehend that someone who showed up so fully for us is no longer here with us. Dina had a way that was rare. She didn't just lead, she inspired. You could feel how much she cared about preparedness, about partnerships, and about people. She believed deeply in the work, but even more deeply in the communities and the relationships behind it. And even more than that, Dina was inclusive in a way that truly mattered. She saw people, she welcomed everyone, and she made space for everyone to belong. And in a world where it's easy to feel overlooked or left out, Dina made you feel like you mattered, like your voice had a place, and like you were a part of something bigger than yourself. She was humble, and even though she was incredibly brilliant, she never made it about herself. She channeled that brilliance in a way that didn't just move people, it saved lives and strengthened communities. She brought people together in a way that felt genuine and effortless. And when you were working with Dina, you felt it. You felt supported, you felt valued, and you felt like you were something bigger than just yourself. I had the privilege of working closely with Dina over 4 years as the co-chairs of the Earthquake Country Alliance Bay Area. And during this time, she became more than a colleague to me. She became a friend, a mentor, and someone that I can lean on and I constantly learned from. Dina was always the first to step up, to raise her hand, and just as quickly, the first to offer help to anyone who needed it. She gave her time so freely, never expecting anything in return. She was truly selfless. She made the world better, and more importantly, she made us all better. She spent more than 30 years strengthening emergency management across the Bay Area, the state, and the country. And it's that kind of legacy that doesn't just live within plans or programs. It lives within people, in the countless individuals she mentored, supported, and inspired along the way. I keep coming back to the morning of the shakeout, watching her move through the crowds, talking to reporters, making connections, and making sure the message reaches as many people as possible. She was completely in her element. That was Dina. She showed up. She showed up for all of us every time. This is such an enormous loss for her family, for her colleagues, and for our entire community. But what stays with me the most is who she is as a person. Dina was kind, she was selfless, she was steady, and she had this quiet but powerful way of making a real difference every single day. Her legacy is one of action, of service, and of heart. And it's a reminder to all of us the impact one person can have when you truly care, and how powerful it is to make everyone feel seen, valued, and included. I'm going to miss her deeply, and I know so many of us will. We love you, Dina, and we hold you in our hearts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray. Also, if you look at the photos on the right side, I like to point out the photo on the upper right. There's Ray and Dina and myself with the fire chief. At the time, this is from the workshop in Hayward and at the Hayward City Hall last summer. And it's relevant, important for us. Right above us is a base isolator. We could see that, and that was part of the tour we did. So thank you so much, Ray. Thank you, Mark. And for everyone, we will definitely miss Dina, and hopefully we'll all remember her. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray and Jeff, for those really thoughtful and comments. And I also knew Dina for many years, even before she was a leader of the ECA Bay Area, and even that stepping up to take that on, really was a sign of just the commitment she had and the involvement in many of the organizations she had, and just making a difference. And I think it's something that we all can aspire to do. It really is what makes everything work by people taking action. And hopefully, even by being here today, that's an action that you're taking in your communities, that to learn some resources you can share, some activities you can be a part of, and what you can share with others, and as throughout all your networks. And so I did put a link in the chat. There is a way that if you knew Dina, or even not, if you'd like to support her family, that there's what's called a meal train link. That I'm still not sure if there's a GoFundMe. There was talk about that type of thing too, but that is basically a way to provide meal support for her family. So and also really do look at the chat for the comments that people are adding there too. Now, at our next workshop, we are going to have a bit more extended time and to remember our next Bay Area workshop, which will be perhaps May 20th, but it may need to shift to June. But if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us, info@earthquakecountry.org. If you're interested in being part of that memorial, where we'll have a few more people be able to share their memories of Dina. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and move on. Thanks again, Jeff and Ray. And all right, so I'm going to share some activities and resources that are available to you for earthquake and tsunami education in your communities, and in your own household and your own organization. And of course, ECA, we have our websites at earthquakecountry.org and in Spanish at terremotos.org. We'll be talking a lot today about tsunami preparedness, and we support Tsunami Preparedness Week, which again is next week. I know many of you have just joined, so I will be repeating some things that maybe I said earlier. Of course, the shakeout coming up each October, this year, October 15th. And you can learn about our events past and coming up at earthquakecountry.org/events. We have regional alliances in Southern California, Central California, the Bay Area, and the North Coast via the Redwood Coast Tsunami Work Group. And you can see some of our past workshops and even online recordings of those at earthquakecountry.org/alliance. And we hope you become active in these regional groups. We also have outreach committees for different sectors. And we'd love you to be a part of these groups too, if these are the organizations that you're a part of, or reach out to. And I just want to also point out, thank you, Renee, that there is a GoFundMe link that's been put into the chat too for Dina Gunning's family. Our resources are organized according to the 7 steps to earthquake safety: what to do before, during, and after to be prepared to survive and recover. And we have a lot of guidance for each of these steps, as well as resources for them as well. In fact, we have resources in 18 languages. That's up from 16. We've just added for all of the documents versions in Thai and Laotian or Laos. And these are the 18 kind of most commonly spoken in homes languages for California. So if there's a language that's not there, that's why it's kind of like the funding we have to do the translations we've been kind of adding more languages and kind of going down that list. But if it's another language and we want to work with us, and you might have support or ability to fund that translation, or even just for a document or two, reach out to us through the website, contact us form, or info@earthquakecountry.org. But it's guidance for what to do before, during, and after, and a lot of safety guidance, as well as resources for the 7 steps to earthquake safety. One brand new document or at least now translated, is our important documents listing. We do have these kind of imprinted on kind of folders in English, but have not yet before had these available in many different languages. So now we have this in all of the 18 languages. Again, also on that earthquakecountry.org/languages page, kind of down near the bottom, where you can download the list as a handout that you can print. This is black and white, so you can give these out at your events for those different in English as well as the other languages. The idea is this is, of course, just the important things that you want to have copies of. So if you like, and put in your go bag, so that if you're not able to get to where you would have that information in your home or maybe even online because the internet's out, that you'd have access to begin your recovery or to get your prescriptions or all those other things. We also have the action plan, your action plan for the 7 steps to earthquake safety. This is a really great kind of mini version of all the resources and guidance we have on the website. Simple list of what you can do for each step and ways and a place where you can take notes and kind of fill it out as a way to have a plan for what to do. One of the really great documents we have is a secure your space guide for how to secure things so they won't fall or be thrown during earthquakes. Simple guidance and diagrams for what to do for each of those types of kind of common items like bookshelves and furnitures and cabinets and water heaters and all those things. And also, we do have a program. We've called it the Mini Awards program. We may start calling this the Secure Your Space Projects program, because really it's you doing the work. We're providing materials for you to secure things so that they won't fall or fly in your organization, in the community that you serve. You'll fill out an order form, and then we'll send you up to $500 of earthquake fasteners that you would then install. We have some requirements for those, getting all those materials, that you would take pictures, you'd complete a survey, and you show everything that's been secured. And the 2026 program application should be open by June. And definitely, if you aren't already on the ECA email list, to get on that. The link will come up in a moment here of how to join. Earthquakecountry.org/join, maybe in the chat. And to make sure they'll get the update for when that application process. It's a very simple application, but we do have some requirements, and so hopefully you'll apply. And this, we had 25 recipients this last year, plus a number of independent living centers who supported their facilities too. We're probably going to have maybe 40 to 50 for this year. So it's a good chance that if you apply, that you'll get these fasteners for making sure your space is safe for when earthquakes happen. And just going to run through a couple examples of the photos we've received from the also the different types of groups. So this school in Richmond secured some bookshelves so it won't fall over, as well as the books won't fall out of the shelves, using the straps going across, like church in Bakersfield did too. Storage rack fasteners. Many of you have these types of racks. There's Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management secured their storage racks to the wall so they won't fall. Computer monitors, a couple groups here too across the state. These are just excerpts of some of the groups and what they secured. Printers. You can imagine a printer being thrown across the room, and that is possible. There's nothing too heavy wherever you are that cannot be thrown by an earthquake, a large earthquake. The whole of the region is being moved up and down, and a printer or something that seems too heavy to move really can be. So this is a great step to take to make sure that things won't be projectiles or fall and hurt things or just break. Of course, water heater straps, super important also to have, so your water heaters do not fall over, which could also be a gas leak and fire hazard. There are a variety of different types of cabinet door latches that you can put on your cabinets so that the doors won't open up and things won't fly out. And also, of course, you can secure small items with quake hold putty, kind of secure it down. It's remarkable how well that will hold during earthquake shaking. All right, and Also, some of our activities that you can be a part of. And coming up very soon, at the end of next week, is the Abilities Expo. It's going to be in Long Beach. They call it the Los Angeles Abilities Expo, but it's in Long Beach this year. And we would love to see you come by our booth. We'll be having providing information to people with disabilities throughout the weekend, also having presentations each of the 3 days in our booth. And we would love if you would be able to come and be with us at the booth to talk to people. If you're in the Southern California area, definitely reach out. It's a great way to learn about the resources and also how to talk to people with disabilities who may not be uh, thinking about these issues as regularly because of the issues that they're dealing with. And I always find we have them really amazing conversations and really how to adapt the messaging so that they can apply it and be safer too. The Abilities Expo, if you go to abilities.com, I should have put that on. That's where you can find Lindsay, if you can put that link in the chat. That's where you can find out about the expo. And if you'd like to join us there at our booth, you could reach out to us too at info@earthquakecountry.org. Just we'll talk a little bit more about this coming up, but of course, Tsunami Preparedness Week is this next week, kind of from the Saturday to the Sunday, so that you can have weekend activities. Of course, you can have activities other time of the year too, but there's a lot of guidance for what you could do. We'll share a little bit more later. And then also coming up on Sunday, April 26th, in the Bay Area, a very large event that you can come to from wherever you are in the Bay Area, the Sonoma County Wildfire and Earthquake Expo. And we're going to be there with a booth and we'll be leading 2 seminars. So definitely, if you're interested, there's a QR code for the event here. You can go and just show up. But if you are in the Bay Area, we are looking for partners to be with us at that booth for that day. So we would love to see you there too. And of course, later in the year, after many other workshops and things that we will be announcing soon, of course, is Shakeout this year. It's always the third Thursday of October. This year, it's October 15th. So it's one of those years where it ends up being 10:15 a.m. at 10:15. And the last year we had 10.5 million. We're always trying to get to 11 million. So registration is open. Go ahead and renew your registration or register for the first time. Of course, more to come about Shakeout. Okay, and then also we're starting to look for Shakeout Day media events. So we each year in SoCal in the Bay Area and sometimes elsewhere, ECA organizes media events. In addition to what Cal OES does in the lead up to the week before, with having events across the state with earthquake simulators, we have one for Shakeout Day with partners at Ready America providing their big shaker. Last year, we were at the City of Los Angeles Emergency Operations Center and at Oakland City Hall. We're looking for a location that's having a great drill that we can highlight and that can host and be willing to have the media come there and show that, as well as have media interviews all morning long, starting at 5 a.m. or so in the earthquake simulator. So if you're interested in hosting an event on Shakeout Day, or even in the weeks prior to that, definitely also reach out to us. Okay, so I try to be keeping an eye on. I believe there's a question, how much is registration? I believe both events I shared are free to attend. You can find that on the website. And registration for Shakeout, always free too. And I'm just looking for um, uh, there's a question in the Q&A. Yes, we will be providing this as shown here, not at the end, but on the website in a few days. We'll have the PowerPoint as a PDF and the recording of the webinar. And I am just making sure that, yeah, good. I forgot to check that it was being recorded, but it is being recorded, thankfully. Okay. The and we do have a survey. So this QR code is for the survey. Everybody take out your phone and get that set up or type the link there. That is in the chat already now too. you can start filling that out, or you can wait to the end, but we really do value your feedback. With that, we're now going to move to some updates from other partners. And first up is Chris White with the California Office of Emergency Services. Chris.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let me try this over here. Yeah, just before I begin, it'd be remiss to not say a couple words about Dina. I'm the earthquake specialist in the seismic hazards branch at California Office of Emergency Services. I'm only a couple years into this community of kind of mitigating seismic hazards. I met Dina at an ECA event a couple of years ago, and her arms were wide open, very warm, welcoming. And then at every major event after that, I've seen Dina and we've talked, and her depth of knowledge always was astounding, but it was also that she kind of based it in tangible, what can we do, boots on the ground activities. And coming from a conceptual place, it always really kind of helped me understand this world a little bit better. And the last time I saw her was at the Oakland Shakeout event in 2025. We were there at 4:45 in the morning. It was dark. We had our headlamps on, waiting for the bollards to be put down. And when we finally got through, I mean, the security guard wasn't there. We were the first ones. And then when we get to the square, we look and I see a little flashlight, and Dina's got two chairs on both of her arms, kind of getting everything set up. So it just speaks to her work ethic, and I would put her background up against any emergency manager I've ever met. And later in that day, as all these different activities were going on and she was speaking to everybody, she and I kind of had a little conversation, and she had this genuine enthusiasm for the CERT programs that she was going to put on. And I just remember leaving that conversation thinking, man, I feel good about the community and the work that we do. So to have that inspiration, I just want to say, yeah, you were special. Thanks for your contribution, and you'll be missed. But she would want us to keep it going. So let me talk about this guide that we have. So like I said, so I'm from the hazards. I'm from the seismic hazards branch at Cal OES. We have this great new guide about checklists for non-structural hazards in schools and commercial buildings. But just really quickly before we jump into that, I'd kind of like to remind folks of why we even exist here at Cal OES, the earthquake program and seismic hazards. Thank you for advancing, Mark. So there's over 15,000 identified faults in California. 500 are classified as active. We have 30 million Californians living within 30 miles of an active fault. 99% chance of a magnitude 6.7 earthquake within the next 30 years. There's an annualized earthquake loss of $9 to $10 billion. So clearly the need to prepare, mitigate, and respond effectively to earthquakes and other seismic hazards is going to be critical to saving lives and protecting our communities moving forward. Next slide, please. So seismic hazards, our goal is, as you can see, to strengthen California's ability to plan, prepare, and provide resources to mitigate the impacts of disasters and emergencies. We do that through hosting and participating in education outreach events throughout the state. So one of our big events is the Shakeout Tour. Obviously, we work hand in hand with Mark and all the coordination committees. Last year, we were in 6 cities in 4 days. We also attend Fleet Week in San Francisco, San Diego, and often in LA. We reach millions of Californians via the media and in-person events. So all that being said, today, also part of our portfolio is having these educational outreach tools that are instrumental to earthquake preparedness and education. And one of those newest guides that I'm here to talk to you about today is the guide and checklist for non-structural earthquake hazards in schools. Next slide, please. This document is an update from 2011. It was funded by FEMA and the National Hazard Mitigation Grant. It's designed to reduce risks associated with earthquakes to make our schools and commercial buildings safer for students, teachers, staff, and ultimately our communities. one of the biggest, if not the most major risk during earthquakes comes from objects that are not secured, such as furniture and equipment. They can be dangerous projectiles that lead to injuries and damage. And this guide provides practical advice for identifying and reducing those risks, helping to create safer environments in schools and other community spaces. Because California is home to 500 active faults and over 30 million people live near them, schools serve as vital community hubs, fostering connections and support. So clearly, Cal OES wants this guide to be used and to conduct thorough assessments of your facilities. Implementing these kind of safety measures fosters a culture of resilience that empowers our communities to respond effectively in the face of natural disasters. Next slide, please. So this guide identifies potential earthquake hazards associated with non-structural components of school and commercial buildings. Non-structural components, as we said before, can become hazards because they can become projectiles. They can break, fall, or tip over during an earthquake. So securing them reduces the potential for casualties. Next slide, please. The guide is structured by 3 different sections. Overview of earthquake hazards associated with non-structural components, and then checklists, which is using these various checklists that have a comprehensive 3-part review of the hazards and can be completed in schools or commercial buildings inside and out. And then installation details, which are select the non-structural hazards identified within the checklist, and then the detail will provide more information on how to secure it. We're going to go through each one very quickly. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the earthquake hazards are broken down by, they're color-coded, they're very, very, one could say basic, but they provide great information. And they're broken down by common furniture and contents, common building components and equipment, and exterior and specialty components. There's examples of the furniture and contents and exterior components on the slide. You can see the damage that can occur with the pictures in the middle. Slide. So once you identify those hazards, then you have these checklists. They will address non-structural earthquake hazards in school facilities consisting of 2 steps, identifying the problems and then fixing them. So these checklists will say, as you can see on the screen, they're color-coded, they're very, very easy. So for example, are the bookcases secured to the wall or floor? This is the most left-hand side. Yes, then you don't have to do anything. No, then secure them to the wall per detail 1, 3, or 4. So if it's a no, then you'll go to detail 1, 3, or 4, and then we'll discuss that right now. And the checklist can be used to survey a single room or entire school district or one commercial building, and they serve both as a list of hazards and a roadmap for addressing them. The roadmap will lead you to the details, which is the next slide. Next slide, please. And each detail includes a step-by-step instructions for proper installation of each component. They're beautifully done 3D images, and they include an illustration, material list, conditions of use, and proper installation instructions. And then how to anchor or brace the component to minimize the likelihood that it will fall. Each detail can be directly implemented by school facility directors, custodians, contracted personnel, or construction managers. Some of the work can even be done by volunteers. If there's multiple anchorage points or it's too complex, then for that, it's expected that school staff will consult with a California licensed architect or a structural engineer. So next slide. Oh, there you go. It's available now. Please scan the QR code. I can also drop it in the chat. It's on the Cal OES Earthquake Preparedness webpage. We want to distribute this as far and as wide as possible. This is a great group, over 350 participants right now. Please, please spread this out to your schools and commercial buildings. Next slide, please. As I indicated in the beginning, we have other resources here at Cal OES that we also share that Earthquake Country Alliance is also essential in. So securing your space at home, please download the MyShake app if that is not already on your phones. Turn on your phone notifications. You can find the checklist, step 3 on the Earthquake Country Alliance to find a checklist for organizing your emergency supplies. We have a readiness guide at earthquake.ca.gov, which is extremely helpful. And then next to the last slide, next slide, please. it's just drop, cover, hold on. Another earthquakes can happen anywhere, anytime. We have to stress the need to consistently and always practice this. We're doing it here pretty consistently. So obviously, the Great California Shakeout is the perfect opportunity. October 15th, as Mark already alluded to. Please get involved. And last slide is just saying thank you for everything. Please reach out with any questions. And that's my contact information on the slide. Thank you much.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, put your website link as you can put your email into the chat too. People can reach out to you. And again, we are going to be putting the recording and the PDF of today's presentation, and you can download now an attendance certificate from the website there where you registered for today's webinar at earthquakecountry.org/March 26th. Do we have any questions? Anybody have any questions for Chris? You can put them into the Q&A if you can find that, or just in the chat while we're looking right here. As a question, Chris, what is the difference between MyShake and Shake Alert? You're muted.
There you go. The Shake Alert, MyShake is powered by the Shake Alert technology. So that's the easiest, most straightforward response to that. It gets kind of complicated on the back end of it, but for everybody, for most laymen and the basic population, we just want them to download the MyShake app, right? And then turn on your notifications on your phone. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, you can find out about the Shake Alert system, which is from the USGS at shakealert.org. And the MyShake app works for California, Oregon, and Washington to get onto your phones. But there are other systems and ways to get the Shake Alert system signal, including on trains and other automated systems that are now coming and being implemented. Again, you can scan this QR code to take our survey. We'll go ahead. Next up, we have a video recording, and I'm going to just make sure that that is going to be heard. Just one second. And let's see. I'm going to start it and let me know if it's not being heard. It's weird. There's like a editing, some sort of Zoom annotation thing that was covering the play button that I'm trying to get out of now. It's very awkwardly in the wrong place. Let me just try this another way. I've never seen this before. Maybe I can just. There we go.
Wendy Bohan, and I'm here to give you updates from the California Geological Survey.
Just let me know if you're not hearing anything.
Our shaking potential map and the new edition of California Geology magazine. So let's start with our earthquake dashboards. So we've developed several different earthquake dashboards that are available as feature services and map services with AGOL. So they're basically just filtered USGS earthquake catalogs, but for specific areas. We have two talking about earthquakes affecting California, which is basically the Western US and Mexico, and then earthquakes within the state's borders and offshore up to 100 kilometers. Now, the motivation for the one, especially within the state's borders, is since California is kind of a wonky shape, it can be difficult to search just for earthquakes inside the state. So this is helping to remedy that problem. This is what these look like. So these are showing the Western US and Mexico. This is magnitude 3+ and then magnitude 5.5+. These are updated daily. And then we have the California specific earthquake dashboards, magnitude 3+ and magnitude 5.5+. Again, updated daily. We also have this weekly earthquake dashboard that's available, and this updates every Monday at 12 a.m. And this is showing earthquakes of magnitude 2+. Now, I had specifically requested this dashboard for a very specific purpose. Is that purpose? I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you. So it was specifically for a social media campaign that we are continuing to do with the goal of improving public understanding of the background rates of seismicity in the state and improving, hopefully, the public tolerance for natural variation in earthquake rates across California. And the idea is that we every Monday create a social media post that talks about the number of earthquakes of magnitude 2 in California that happened the previous week. So all of that information is obviously already available on our website and across the internet, but now we're displaying it in a different format and hopefully an easily digestible format. So this is what that looks like. We have the image that has the map of California, the earthquake locations and magnitudes, but it also talks about how many earthquakes there were and the magnitude of those earthquakes. If you're interested in looking at these dashboards, they are freely available to you, to the public, to everyone. Feel free to scan this QR code. Give you a minute to do that. 3, 2, 1, and moving on. Let's talk about our earthquake shaking potential map. So this map came out in April, but I am still going around town and talking about it because it hasn't quite been a year yet. So let's talk about it a little bit more. The background here is that we produce these maps every time there's an update in the National Seismic Hazard Maps. So the first one came out in 1999. There was one released in 2008, 2026, and 2025 is the new one. So this is what the 2016 map looked like, and dun, 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 here is the new map. We affectionately call it the What's Shakin' Bacon map. The communication goals for this map are to show that damaging earthquake shaking is possible anywhere in California. So if you look at the legend over there, that doesn't go from no shaking to strong shaking. That goes from strong shaking to devastating shaking. Another communication goal is to show that the highest shaking hazard areas are near major active faults. And finally, we'll want to communicate that factors like the local geologic conditions influence shaking intensity. So the intended purpose of the map is to show how potential earthquake shaking is distributed across the state, and also to help people visualize the information that's used in building code updates and in earthquake hazard assessments. So if you want to do anything beyond that, you need to look at the underlying data. So definitely the data is what should be used for anything beyond just a general understanding of the distribution of shaking hazard in the state of California. Some of the changes that we've made, obviously there were updates to the science that necessitated an update to the map, but we also made changes to the color ramp and to the legend, and we did that in consultation with Dr. Max Schneider from the USGS. We also moved a lot of that background information onto a website that's available through the QR code on the map. So that's what the website looks like. It starts with key messages for Californians about earthquakes. That's intended for all audiences. Then it moves into the basic science behind the map. Again, that's intended for all audiences. And then it gets into more technical information like sources of data and information. And that is intended for scientists and for researchers. So please scan the QR code if you'd like to see the map and the webpage. 3, 2, 1. And finally, I want to tell you about our new issue of California Geology magazine. This comes out once a year. It's free and available on our website. It is absolutely spectacular. 60 pages of exciting science and information. Something that might be interesting to this audience is the description of the multi-state clearinghouse tabletop exercise that we did last year that included people from California, Oregon, and Washington talking about what we would do in the event of a multi-state earthquake rupture. But there's lots of other interesting information as well. Articles talking about the state of geoscience education in California, talking about geoheritage, mapping the subsurface, lots of interesting things. So please, if you get a chance, check that out. Here's the QR code for that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me at wendy.bohan@conservation.ca.gov. Thanks very much.
Okay, that was a recording, so Q&A not possible, but I have put the links to the resources that Wendy shared. Next up, we're going to hear from Samantha Stanley at Berkeley. Hi, Samantha. I'll get your your video spotlighted and you're ready to go.
Great, thanks. I thought I had a virtual background, but I don't today. Hi, folks. It's good to be here with you today. Wendy is a hard act to follow, even when she's recorded. But I'm excited to share with you some great updates and products out of the UC Berkeley Seismology Lab today. I'm Samantha Stanley. I'm the Shake Alert Technical Engagement Regional Coordinator for Northern California. So I'm going to be sharing some updates from My Shake, which is an app that is developed and maintained at UC Berkeley in collaboration with our friends at Cal OES. So the first update is that My Shake now has a browser extension. So you may know that MyShake was already available not just as an app for your cell phone, but also on iOS or Mac devices and Chromebooks as a download. Well, now MyShake is available more widely on any desktop, including Windows, thanks to this new extension. So I'm just going to show you a couple of different ways to get that extension on both the Chrome browser and the Edge browser. Next slide, please. So these are the instructions for installing the MyShake browser through your or extension through your Chrome browser. And Mark, just to confirm, we are sending out these slides, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the instructions will be here for you. I'll also put the links that I'm sharing in the chat when I'm finished. But it's quite simple. If you're familiar with installing extensions on your browsers for any other things, whether it's bookmarking apps or research apps or whatever, this is very similar. So once you have this installed onto your browser, you'll get pop-up notifications on your computer through your browser. Next slide. Oh, can you go back one? Oh, this is for Edge. Okay, sorry, we got a little bit mixed up. So these are the instructions for installing on Chrome. And then if you go one more, Mark, these are the instructions for Edge. So I want to make a note that the extension is a Chrome extension and Edge will run Chrome extensions. So if you get confused at all, just rest assured, Edge will download that Chrome extension and operate normally through the Edge browser. And if you have any issues or questions, I'll put the link to who you can contact for more information as soon as I'm finished. Okay, next slide. All right. The second great product that I want to talk about today is the Shake Alert Ready CERT materials. You may have gotten some snippets about this before, and I'm happy to report that it is fully available now online through the link that you see here. Again, I'll put it in the chat. This is great because it is a way to incorporate earthquake and earthquake early warning materials into existing CERT training. Next slide. So there are 4 resources available when you go to this website. There are training manuals and instructor guides. So the manual to give to CERT classes, and then the instructor guide to help train the folks in the CERT class. It covers earthquake basics, hazard information, how earthquake early warning works, and how to get it, and how trainees can use it. Next slide. And then it also has companion PowerPoint slide decks so that everything that you need to incorporate this into your CERT training is already ready to go. And I think that's it. Short and sweet.
Thank you, Samantha. Let's see. We are you have put links there to your there's bit.ly links which aren't linked the way that it came through, but you can copy this off, as well as the email addresses provided there. And Samantha, could you actually sent that to just the hosts and panelists? Could you redo that to everyone?
Yes, I will. And I also just want to mention too, I really love to geek out on how MyShake, or how the Shake Alert works to deliver alerts with alerting partners like MyShake. So if you are more interested in getting into the weeds, I would love to geek out with you on that and just kind of walk you through the basics of how Shake Alert works to make that happen.
Excellent. Not seeing any questions. We are going to, there is a question in the Q&A, not to you, Sam, but to what we'll handle for everyone. If there's a QR code, we will modify the slides to also put the link on the slide for those, as Sheila Gunn has mentioned, who are not able to see the QR code, but use a text reader. We'll have the link on the slide. So thank you for pointing that out as as something that we should be sure to do in the future as well. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Again, you will have all the PowerPoint and the PDF and the webinar recording and all to watch this again. And we are putting links again into the chat for everyone. Some links have been put just to those. So you'll see those if you haven't been looking coming up. And we'll go ahead and now we're going to turn to actually first we're going to have Jay. If you could, I'm going to stop sharing, and then if you could share your slides. We'll hear from Jay Patton with the California Geological Survey as we start our tsunami section.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark, and everyone who has been here today. My name is Jay Patton from the California Geological Survey. The CGS and the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services comprise the California Tsunami Program. During tsunami events, we work together with the National Tsunami Warning Center and the National Weather Service Weather Forecast Offices to provide guidance to the first responders that have authority to respond to tsunami events. We will present some background material about how tsunami are generated and then review some recent tsunami that impacted California. About 85% of tsunami are caused by large earthquakes below the ocean floor. The rest can be caused by landslides, volcanic eruptions, bolide impacts like asteroids, and meteorological phenomena. Here's a map of Earth's main tectonic plates, and the red arrows indicate the direction of relative movement at the plate boundaries. And note that California is in that white box. There are three types of plate boundaries: divergent, where plates move away from each other; convergent, where plates move towards each other; and transform, where plates move side by side, like the San Andreas Fault. Each type can generate tsunami, though convergent plate boundary earthquakes generate the largest and most devastating. There are other faults in California that are capable of generating tsunami, but the Cascadia subduction zone has the potential for generating the largest tsunami waves. In the lower right animation, we see how earthquake motion from a subduction zone can generate tsunami waves. On the left is a map showing where the oceanic plates subduct beneath the continental plate. In the upper right, note the cross section, A to A prime, that shows how the ground moves between and during earthquakes. Seismogenic tsunami, tsunami generated by earthquakes. The subduction zone offshore of Chile has an historic record of earthquake-generated tsunami. The maps on the left use color to represent maximum tsunami sizes for 3 historic earthquakes in Chile. The largest magnitude earthquake ever recorded on Earth, an M9.5 earthquake in 1960, generated a tsunami that impacted much of the west coast of the United States. Here is an aerial image of the coast of Chile from before the 1960 earthquake. Note the trees along the river in the upper left. Here's an aerial image from after the earthquake and tsunami. This is not an uncommon impact of tsunami. This is an example for a local tsunami, one that is sourced from an earthquake nearby. Here are parking meters bent downwards by the 1960 Chile tsunami. This is a parking lot in Hawaii. This is an example for a distant tsunami, one that sourced from an earthquake far away. The Alaska Aleutian subduction zone is another well-known source for trans-Pacific tsunami that cross the Pacific Ocean. This map shows the historic subduction zone earthquakes along this plate margin as light yellow polygons. The 1964 magnitude 9.2 Great Alaska earthquake generated a trans-Pacific tsunami that impacted California. These photos show the impact of the Great Alaska tsunami in Alaska. This is an example for a local tsunami, one that is sourced from an earthquake nearby. The 1964 Great Alaska earthquake sent a tsunami across the Pacific Ocean, and this shows the impact upon structures in Crescent City, California. This is an example for a distant tsunami, one that is sourced from an earthquake far away. As a reminder, strike slip faults move side by side as shown in the diagram. Here's an example of a right lateral strike slip offset here of a stream channel in Southern California. Note how the red line representing the edge of a stream channel is offset. Strike slip earthquakes like the 1906 San Francisco earthquake can also produce tsunami, though they are smaller in size compared to subduction zone tsunami. In the upper left corner is the tide gauge record showing the small tsunami from the magnitude 7.9 San Francisco earthquake. The tsunami starts at the red arrow. The animation on the right shows a simulation of what the tsunami may have done given what we think about how the fault slipped. Excuse me. In addition to earthquakes, meteo tsunami are generated by meteorological events like atmospheric pressure changes, storms, and phenomena that we have yet to fully understand. On average, there are 25 meteo tsunami along the east coast of the USA every year. Most are less than 1.5 feet high. The figure on the left shows the average number of meteo tsunami events per year for each location, while the figure on the right shows the maximum observed wave height for each meteo tsunami event. In 1958, there was a magnitude 7.8 earthquake on the Fairweather strike slip fault in southeastern Alaska, which triggered a landslide, causing a tsunami. Landslide-generated tsunami can be very large in size, but are limited in the region that they impact due to the length scale size of the landslide. While this 1958 tsunami was large in Lituya Bay, it did not extend significantly beyond the coastal waters of Alaska. Here's a map of Lituya Bay, Alaska, with a superimposed 1958 landslide scar in red at the head of the bay and the forest trim line showing the tsunami run-up as a yellow line. Note the forest destruction to a maximum run-up elevation of 524 meters. Here's a zoomed-in view of the tsunami scar showing the erosion of the forest. The CGS has mapped thousands of submarine landslides offshore of California, many of which are potential tsunami sources. Here are two areas in central and southern California that we highlight as there are mapped earthquake faults nearby that could trigger landslides here. 6% of all tsunami over the last 400 years have been generated by volcanoes. Most volcanic tsunami impact the region near the volcano, like landslide-generated tsunami. However, some can have a global impact, like the 1883 Krakatau, known as Krakatoa, or the 2022 Hunga Tonga eruptions. This illustration, showing a cross-section of the Earth and the ocean, provides some background terminology for tsunami waves. Wave height is the vertical distance between the crest or peak and the trough of the tsunami waveform, while amplitude is the vertical distance of the water surface elevation above the ambient water surface elevation. And run-up height is the maximum elevation onshore that the tsunami reaches. Influence of the tide. These are the Crescent City tide gauge plots for the 2022 tsunami on top and the 2011 tsunami on the bottom. The vertical axis is elevation or tsunami size in meters, and both plots use the same scale. The smaller Tonga maximum tsunami size happened at high tide, while the larger Tohoku tsunami size happened at low tide. Note the difference in maximum elevation and compare with the amplitude. The 2022 maximum elevation is 3 meters, and the 2011 maximum elevation is 2.2 meters. But the 2022 wave size was 1 meter, and the 2011 wave size was larger at 2.2 meters. So tide has a big effect sometimes. Many are familiar with the concept of the 100-year flood. The CGS has maps for the 100, 475, 975, and 2475-year tsunami. PTHA stands for Probabilistic Tsunami Hazard Analysis, which is the process that led to these maps. And don't worry, we're not going to learn about that today. These maps show the maximum tsunami amplitudes for these 4 time periods in the San Francisco Bay Area. Darker blue represents larger wave amplitudes or larger waves. Note how the 2 maps on the right, the 975 and 2475-year tsunami models, show how the Golden Gate constricts tsunami flow, reducing the amplitude within San Francisco Bay. Let's zoom in to see more detail. Here's a profile of the tsunami amplitude through the Golden Gate across the line, that white line on the map. Note that there is a reduction in amplitude of about 5 meters over a 5-kilometer span. The amplitude is over 10 meters outside of the Golden Gate and about 5 meters inside the Golden Gate. Here we see the maximum tsunami velocities for the same time periods. Lower velocity is lighter and higher velocity is darker in color. Based on empirical evidence, damage to harbors and marinas can initiate at velocities around 3 knots. This is about 1.5 meters per second. Large vessels travel between 6 and 12 knots within the bay, so we highlighted the 5 meter per second contour, which is about 10 knots. Let's zoom in. Here are larger scale maps for the Golden Gate, and note north is not always up. North is to the left here. We labeled some of the 5 and 10 meter per second contours. The safe threshold for vessel traffic is lower than the 6 to 12 knots because eddies form and make things more complicated. It is not a smart plan to attempt to traverse this region during tsunami events. These are the subduction zones shown as blue polygons surrounding the Pacific tsunami sources for California. We'll look at 3 recent tsunami to impact California. In 2022, a volcanic eruption in Tonga caused flooding in the state. In 2024, an earthquake offshore of California generated a small tsunami and a big response. In 2025, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake offshore of Kamchatka, Russia, generated a tsunami causing damage in the state. The 2022 Hunga Tonga volcano unleashed a violent underwater eruption. It was one of the largest volcanic explosions of the instrumental era. The volcanic eruption generated tsunamis that traveled 5,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean to California. And here are some maps that I produced to prepare a pre and post eruption map showing how the Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapai volcano eruption changed the shape of these islands. There were tsunami waves observed statewide, including at both Crescent City and Port San Luis tide gauges. The amplitudes were about 1 meter, but they arrived at high tide, causing flooding at locations statewide. Even though the tsunami size was small in California, it generated strong currents that caused millions in damage throughout the state. On the left, we see engineering geologist Nick Grail inspecting some damage of the deck at Moss Landing, and on the right, we see the tsunami reach the level of the floors of some of the restaurants at Monterey Pier. The Mendocino Fault is a right lateral, transform, or strike-slip plate boundary separating the Gorda and Pacific plates shown in the map. There have been historic earthquakes along this fault system, and the December 5th magnitude 7 earthquake is shown by the orange star. There was a tsunami observed at the North Spit and Arena Cove tide gauges as shown in these plots. The tsunami was small, on the order of centimeters in size, but based on the original magnitude and location, the north part of the state was placed into a warning alert status, causing people in the SF Bay area to receive wireless emergency alerts on their mobile devices. On July 2025, there was an earthquake offshore of Kamchatka, Russia. On the left, we see an illustration from the 8.8 earthquake USGS website. We can see how the Pacific plate subducts beneath the Okhotsk plate, which is part of the North America plate. The red line delineates the place on the plate interface, the megathrust fault, where earthquakes can occur, and this is generally the area that slipped during this earthquake. We at the state worked nonstop for 39 hours between the earthquake and the final cancellation by the National Tsunami Warning Center. The map on the right is a tsunami energy map showing the size of the tsunami as it was modeled to travel across the ocean. In 1952, there was a similar sized earthquake that we all had our minds on when we got the notification for the 2025 earthquake. In 1952, there was extensive damage statewide in California. Here's a comparison between the 1952 on top and the 2025 on bottom Kamchatka tsunamis recorded at the Crescent City tide gauge. The maximum wave heights were nearly identical, 2.03 meters in 1952 and 2.01 meters in 2025. This was a common observation in other locations throughout the Pacific. The CGS programmatically gathers fragile and perishable information following earthquake, volcanic eruption, and tsunami events. The field data collected can be used to better understand these hazards, And these data are collected under coordination by the California Earthquake Clearinghouse, chaired by Kate Thomas at the CGS. Dr. Pat Lynette is a coastal engineer who teaches engineering at the University of Southern California, and the CGS Tsunami unit works closely with Lynette on tsunami and coastal hazards. Lynette was at a workshop at Corvallis when the earthquake happened, and we immediately started coordinating his field visit to the Crescent City Harbor, where Lynette met with CGS staff. This video shows some of the observations they made, including how a dock got sucked beneath the water surface. I'm sure you might have seen the electrical explosions. As part of the CGS post-tsunami response program, I sent myself to the harbor the next day. Here's a photo showing the imbrication of the docks here. These docks are termed attenuator docks by the manufacturer, extending half a meter below the water surface to attenuate currents entering the basin. We hypothesize in our published paper led by Lynette that these deeply floating docks formed a narrower opening into the boat basin, creating a Venturi effect, and this caused the docks to be sucked down. Here we see how the metal flaps broke through the cable insulation, causing the explosions. We hear generalized regions of California that have similar tsunami run-up elevations. The differences in tsunami size is related to the differences in tsunami sources. Northern California, the tsunami hazard is dominated by the Cascadia subduction zone, which can lead to higher tsunami run-ups. South of the subduction zone, the largest distance source is from the Alaska Aleutian subduction zone. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. All right. Thanks. Todd, I think you're up.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Jay. Jay, can you give me confirmation you're seeing my slide?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jay. My name is Todd Becker. I'm with the Cal OES Tsunami Program, and I'm going to jump right into my slides about California tsunami preparedness. So I want to talk today about tsunami preparedness in California and what you need to know. Whether you live, work, or play near the coast, you should know how to protect yourself from a tsunami. Today, I will provide you some actionable ways to be more prepared for that next tsunami event. I have three main protective actions and preparedness topics that I want to focus on today, which are knowing your tsunami hazard zone, official versus natural tsunami warning, and organizing emergency supplies. Taking some time to prepare before that next tsunami event can help keep you safe and resilient during a future tsunami. So how do we know where the tsunami hazards are in California? The California Geological Survey, people like Jay and some of his colleagues, working with Cal OES, university partners, and local agencies have mapped California's tsunami hazard areas. The maps were updated within the last few years using the best currently available scientific information and represent areas that could be exposed to tsunami hazards during a tsunami event. Tsunami hazard area maps for California are available at the California Geological Survey website, tsunami.ca.gov. At the California Geological Survey webpage for the tsunami maps, you can enter an address or use location features and zoom in for more details. Yellow areas are the hazard area, and green areas are the safe areas. In case of a tsunami warning, either official or natural warnings, which we will discuss more next, you need to go from the yellow areas to the green areas. You can know your zone by locating where you live, work, or recreate before the next tsunami. Know your tsunami zone. Have I said that yet? If I'm sounding like a broken record, it is because this is one of the most critical steps you can take to be better prepared for tsunami. I have the three main protective actions I wanted to cover today, but if you really only took one thing away, it would be this: know your zone and figure out where the tsunami hazard zones are relative to where you live, work, or play while near the coast. When you're in a tsunami hazard zone, the rest of my talk will focus on how we recognize when we need to take action to evacuate, and about having some emergency supplies organized so that we can quickly go after being alerted of a potential tsunami event. Now I'd like to talk a little about how to recognize and understand tsunami warnings. There are two ways that you may be alerted that a tsunami is coming: an official tsunami warning and a natural tsunami warning. Official tsunami warnings are typically issued when the tsunami source is far away, and natural warnings are for recognizing signs of a potential tsunami when the tsunami source is close. Both are equally important, but you may not get both, and a natural warning may be your first or only warning that a tsunami is on its way. You want to be prepared to respond immediately to whatever you hear or see first, and knowing your tsunami zone is a key preparedness step you will want to take prior to being alerted of a potential tsunami hazard. As mentioned, official warnings are for when the tsunami source is far away. Official alerts can be issued on cell phones, TV, radio stations, and NOAA weather radios. Did I mention that you should know your tsunami zone? You'll want to follow the direction of emergency personnel who may ask you to evacuate low-lying areas. It is also important to remember that it's recommended that you evacuate on foot if possible, as roadways can become congested. If you know your zone and find that somewhere you frequent, like your home or work, is in the tsunami hazard area, you could also develop an evacuation plan and practice that evacuation plan so you're further ready when alerted of a potential tsunami. What are the official tsunami alerts from the National Tsunami Warning Center? This graphic shows the tsunami alert levels from the National Tsunami Warning Center. Typically, a tsunami information statement alert is issued by the Tsunami Warning Centers when an earthquake has occurred that is large enough to be felt on or near the coast. Fortunately, in the majority of the cases, the tsunami information statements are issued to indicate that there is no threat of a destructive tsunami and to prevent unnecessary response actions. A tsunami watch, on the other hand, may be issued when there is time to assess the threat and there is a chance a warning or advisory could be issued. In these cases, you'll be waiting for further guidance from officials and updated alerts. Two types of alerts will require immediate action. Tsunami advisory. That's when flooding of dry land is not expected, but your beaches, harbors, and low-lying coastal areas may be damaged by strong currents and need to be evacuated. A tsunami warning. That's when online flooding and powerful currents are possible. If you hear that a warning has been issued, evacuate tsunami hazard zones. And remember that official warnings are for the tsunamis coming from far away. When the tsunami source is close, feeling the ground shaking may be your only warning. Before you get these alerts, is the time to know your zone. I also want to mention where people can go to get tsunami event and alert information and sign up for alerts for your local area. This slide shows the homepage for the Tsunami Warning Centers, which displays current tsunami alerting for both the tsunami warning centers that are operated by NOAA. It's important to remember that the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska is the tsunami warning center that has alerting responsibility for the continental US, including California. Tsunami alerts are also posted by the National Tsunami Warning Center on X and Facebook. If you go to the National Tsunami Warning Center website at tsunami.gov, I think I posted it there, you can find information about the alert feeds. Just again, a reminder that it's the National Tsunami Warning Center that has alerting responsibility for California. Another place you can often go to sign up for alerts, which includes tsunami, in addition to other hazards, is with your local Office of Emergency Management. They often post information on their website, so a simple Google search will probably help you find that. Each county has an alerting program that you can sign up to receive alerts, and if an emergency were to arise in that county, and I've posted a link on this slide to calalerts.org, which provides a page with links to all of those county websites. All right, so to natural warning signs. As I mentioned, natural warnings are for recognizing signs of a potential tsunami when the tsunami source is close. Ground shaking, an ocean roar, or the water receding unusually far are all nature's warnings that a tsunami may be coming. If you observe any of these warning signs, Immediately walk to higher ground or inland. Don't wait for an official notification. A tsunami may arrive with minutes, and damaging surges could continue for many hours. Stay away from tsunami hazard areas until officials permit you to return. A natural tsunami warning may be your first or only warning that a tsunami is on its way. And as I've already mentioned today, a couple times, I think, knowing your tsunami zone is important. One question that often comes up is, how do I know if a felt earthquake is big enough to cause a tsunami? A good way to frame this is that we can put earthquakes into three categories. That first category is the, whoa, that was some strong and long shaking, maybe the biggest earthquake you've ever felt. In these cases, it is possible that this earthquake, especially if you're near a coastal area, may have caused a tsunami. And if you're on the beach or low-lying coastal area in the tsunami hazard zone, you should move inland or to high ground immediately. The next category of earthquake you feel is the one that you could barely tell if it was an earthquake or not. You might need to check your phone or ask somebody around you. In these cases, the earthquake likely wasn't large enough to cause a tsunami. The third category would be where you're not quite sure how big or how long that earthquake shaking was. In these cases, we like to say, when in doubt, drill it out. Every earthquake is an opportunity to practice your tsunami evacuation skills if you're on the beach or low-lying coastal area in the tsunami hazard zone. So the final preparedness step I'm discussing today isn't just for tsunami. It's also applicable for preparing for multiple different hazards. And I think some of our other presenters today have also touched on these topics. Emergency supplies in your home, workplace, or car can make the difference in your health and comfort when confronted with a hazard such as tsunami. So, question for you. Where were you the last time you felt an earthquake or got a tsunami alert? Even if you haven't experienced an earthquake or tsunami, think about all the various places you find yourself at day or night and ask, would I be ready if I felt that earthquake or got that a tsunami alert right now? Hopefully, you know your zone. You should consider organizing disaster supplies in convenient locations. Places you can consider having emergency supplies include under the bed, in your home, at work, and in your car, including a go bag at these locations should you need to evacuate. Many of you may be familiar with the ECA 7 steps to earthquake safety, and step 3 is to organize your emergency supplies. So if you go to the ECA website, which I'm thinking most of you here are familiar with, you can find that helpful list to help you get more prepared for that next event. One of the things I always like to remind people is remember to have some of those supplies specific to you, such as medications, glasses, clothing, and more. And also don't forget your pets. So I hope you today, during today's presentations, you've learned something new or more about tsunami hazard in California and what you can do to be better prepared. Taking some protective actions, such as knowing your tsunami zone, understanding official versus natural tsunami warnings, and organizing supplies can go a long way towards keeping you safe and resilient during a future tsunami event. On behalf of the California Tsunami Program, thank you all for getting involved in California's tsunami preparedness activities, and remember to know your zone. There we go. Sorry, Mark, I had to figure out how to stop sharing. Hey, Mark, I don't think we have your audio.
That's right. Okay, so just a brief overview of Tsunami Preparedness Week starting this Saturday. Really, it's a little bit more than a week, and it allows us to include events that are on the weekend that you might be participating in. And if you're not already planning something, maybe there's not time to do so, of course, you can have tsunami preparedness activities any day of the year, including as part of your shakeout activities. We have resources on the website, and I'll kind of highlight those there. We have a page specific for California resources And of course, do link to the ways that you can find out if you are in a tsunami zone. Shakeout has mostly an activity that almost everybody can do. Take 1 minute to practice what you do during an earthquake. For most people, that might be to get down and get under a desk or table, though we have guidance for what to do in many different situations, including if you're not able to
I
get
think we
down.
lost your audio again, Mark. Maybe that's just me. I'm not sure.
I
Is that
can
true?
hear it.
Okay. On the website, we have links to, of course, where you can find, but I'm sorry. So while Shakeout has something simple, it's a little bit different for tsunami preparedness as uh, there is an activity that you can do as part of practicing your tsunami safety, which is to do a tsunami walk where you would actually practice how you would get to a high ground or further inland if you are in a map tsunami zone. But because that's only a few people who are the people who were along the coast that would be applicable to, we've created a variety of ways that you can participate, and as well as resources. And we like Shakeout, though. We ask you to register so we kind of have an understanding of how many people are taking part in tsunami preparedness activities. So here's that list where you can organize a walk, and we do have guidance for how you could do that in your community. That could be as a family, it could be as a community, as a school, as a workplace. And if you are someone who has a boat and a marina, there you can also practice a boat drill, but evacuation drill, where either leaving the marina if you're of a liveaboard, or what to do in advance of a official warning. And also there are lectures like this webinar. It counts as you learning about tsunamis. And so you could register your participation at tsunamizone.org. We have about 500,000 people each year who are involved with such activities, and we'd like to increase that. You could watch videos on YouTube. You can print out your map. You can do all sorts of things. And of course, even your preparedness kit would be great. We got some people who can hear and some people who can't. It's really weird. Is people still not? Okay, people are saying they're hearing me. Okay, and then I want to also point out that starting tomorrow, if you are an amateur radio operator, there is an activity you can be a part of and a lot of this might not be understandable, or you might not be familiar with if you are not an amateur radio operator, but or you can provide information, practice sharing, situational awareness, requesting welfare checks, and how you're going to how do you support local emergency management to keep people informed. And so we're going to if this is something that's applicable to you, we encourage you to participate. It starts tomorrow but goes all the way through March 30th. And again, this will be in the slides, and we'll put the link in the chat as well. There it is. Okay, so again, we'll encourage you to register your activities. You'll get on the email list about tsunami activities. And also, if you're having an event, if your organization, your community is doing something tsunami related that is open to the public or the news media, you can also submit that through the website at tsunamizone.org/calendar. So with that, we'll turn to questions, and we did have some in the Q&A section that we have a little time to address that have been answered. If you go to Q&A, you can look at the answers that Jay had typed in, but we'll kind of, since we have a moment, we'll kind of ask or answer those kind of verbally here too. And so and I'm just looking to see if there's any questions in the chat. So Jay, I'm going to kind of pose a question again, some that you've already answered in the Q&A. You asked, of course, there was a question about, is there a resource where you can see where the tsunami inundation area, the tsunami hazard area is? And we put that link in the chat, tsunami.ca.gov. Really great interface for looking at maps by county to see what those resources are. And yes, and it's by the nature of those types of resources, it's very visual. And Jay, has that been addressed, how people who are not able to see might have access to that information besides maybe working with someone who can share that information with them? I'm just wondering if that's been considered.
Yeah, that's a big challenge, is how to help people who have access and functional needs, how to use a map. And so if people have solutions about how to do that, send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat, and I'll do that right now. But basically, the best advice is to find someone to help you do that. So I'm sorry if that isn't more satisfying of an answer.
And then there's a question that the Golden Gate Bridge, let's say the question is, I understand that the Golden Gate Bridge would be dangerous. Any thoughts on the Bay Bridge during tsunami warning? If you could just kind of share your response that you had typed there, or again, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question, especially that given I presented material on that. Those bridges and all bridges in the state, Caltrans has studied those to make sure that they're strong enough to withstand the forces from tsunami. And so unless Caltrans or CHP shuts down those bridges, people should assume that they're safe to drive on. Another possibility is that a local earthquake might damage those bridges. But once again, Caltrans or CHP will shut down those bridges if they are unsafe to drive on. So I hope that was helpful.
There was a question about the tsunami warnings that happened last year where people who lived in San Francisco thought that, who lived in the East Bay, rushed across the bridges to get there. Could you say a little bit about that warning and maybe why that wasn't necessary because of the way that warning was issued, as well as kind of why you don't need to do that?
Yeah. So first, I'd like to encourage everyone to go to tsunami.ca.gov and look at the tsunami hazard area maps, and that will help people understand, where people need to evacuate to. You basically, those maps show the tsunami hazard area in one color and the area outside of the tsunami hazard area in a different color. And if there's a pending tsunami hazard, move outside of the tsunami hazard area. And this needs to be done, before the tsunami is coming, so that where you are and where the tsunami hazard area is, so you can get out of it. So to make it short, the National Tsunami Warning Center has regions along the coast where they send notifications for tsunami alerts when they generate tsunami alert levels. And because of the software that they're using, they can have only so many regions. And right now, the San Francisco Bay is in a region that is a really large region. It goes up to near Point Arena, I think, and then it goes down to Davenport, just north of Santa Cruz. And so the outer coast was forecast to have possibly large waves. Actually, it was based on the magnitude of the earthquake and the location of the earthquake, it put certain places within a certain distance from that earthquake into a warning alert, which is the highest level alert. And that distance just barely made it into this alerting region that includes the San Francisco Bay. And so that's why the San Francisco Bay got their wireless emergency alerts. And in the future, in the next few years, the tsunami warning centers are being combined, and they are going to be updating their software, and we'll be able to have a different alerting region within the Bay as compared to outside of the bay. So we're working on that. But the good news is that later this month, the language that is in that wireless emergency alert, the WEA alerts, that was confusing to lots of people during the Kamchatka tsunami, that language has been changed. So we've worked really hard to have the National Weather Service and the Tsunami Warning Centers change the WEA language so that it won't be, so scary sounding, and it'll be more directed to, if you are in a tsunami hazard area, evacuate. And thanks for sharing the map. And so we can see, and so we can see that the tsunami hazard area is in yellow, and the area outside of the tsunami hazard area is in green. And so if you are in San Francisco, most of San Francisco is outside of the tsunami hazard area. So there is no need during that Kamchatka tsunami or during any future tsunami to travel across the bay to go to the East Bay. There are lots of places in San Francisco that are that green, that are outside of the tsunami hazard area. And in addition, if you are traveling along, traveling during an event, a tsunami event or an earthquake event, you might be getting in the way of emergency vehicles who might need to travel that way. So the best approach is just to find some place the closest you are that's outside of the tsunami hazard area and go there. And do that, learn that before the next tsunami.
Thank you, Jay. There's a question. It's interesting in the chat. Looking at the map, it appears that the tsunami zone ends on my street. If I cross the street, I'm inside the zone. I don't see anything about my street that would make a tsunami wave stop there. I would like to know how that border was determined.
Thank you for that great question. So we, California Governor's Office of Emergency Services and the California Geological Survey, worked closely with the emergency managers and first responders in every county and city when we developed these tsunami hazard area maps. And basically we started with, and this will sort of address one of the other questions, is we convened a tsunami technical advisory panel, and they were the ones who determined that we should use the 975 level tsunami for our tsunami hazard area. So we basically plotted the 975 tsunami hazard map, hazard data on the map. And then what we did was we extended that boundary landward to the in cities. We extended it to the nearest geographical feature that's easy to identify. And in this case, in San Francisco, we extended that boundary, the THA tsunami hazard area boundary, to roads, because those are easy to identify. If we drew the line through, like if the tsunami hazard area went through the middle of a field, it's difficult for people to determine, well, where in the field am I safe? Where in the field do I know that I'm outside of the tsunami hazard area? And so this was important to the emergency managers and first responders in each city and county that we work with. So these lines were basically the decision about where to put these lines were made by the emergency managers and first responders in each of those cities and counties. And I hope that was...
So Jay, so the actual potential tsunami inundation zone would not go actually as far as the green lines.
Correct. The models, our tsunami models are smaller than the entire yellow area. So these are conservative, but it's because we want people to find them easy to use and easy to identify.
Another question, Jay. BART runs under the bay, but emerges above ground. There may be a BART station that's within the tsunami zone. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's something that that BART will need to decide on what to do during a tsunami hazard event. It's possible that they will, shut down BART during a tsunami hazard event. But that's up to BART. So I don't know what to really say about that, other than
the particular one apparently is the West Oakland BART and perhaps Embarcadero entrances. So
Yeah.
all right. So sure BART is considering that. And okay, and just looking for any other tsunami questions too. There's had a couple come in. Keith Harrison from the Venice area of Los Angeles, which does have a coastal tsunami zone, is asking if people can evacuate, can they take shelter on top floor of two-story or greater building? What's the guidance on that for either you, Jay, or for Todd too?
That's a good question. So it's best to, during an event to get outside of the tsunami hazard area. But we do, consider two-story structures as, what's it called? A place of last resort. So, or an evacuation place of last resort. In many places in the state, buildings that are built to withstand seismic design are probably strong enough to withstand tsunami, but it's best to get outside of the tsunami hazard area. It's just not really possible to know in advance.
So part of what you're saying is certainly understand the strength of your building and its resistance to that strong force of water that can come from a tsunami. It's like flooding, not a huge wave, but it's like flooding coming in quickly, but with force. And perhaps some buildings would be able to withstand and getting on top of that. But if you're in an older, wood frame building that you aren't sure about, then you might that would be last resort type of option.
Yeah, Thanks for mentioning that. If it's a wood frame structure, it's probably not a good place to stay, shelter in place. Although if you're living in like a condo, an apartment building that's built out of reinforced concrete, that might be, a more reasonable choice to do.
All right, these are great questions, and I'm just looking for any others. And also the feedback on the visual aspects of the presentation, definitely going to work on that for future presentations. And also all the sharing that people have been doing on today's webinar. I do want to remind everybody again that you can get an attendance certificate if you would like that now. It's already at the bottom of the web page. Just look for it. And you do need to download that first so that you can then put your name on it. And you can find that at earthquakecountry.org/March 26. And also linked in the chat just now. And the recording of today's webinar and the PDF of the PowerPoints will also be there within a few days, probably even by tomorrow morning. So, and if you haven't yet, take a screenshot or type in the survey link here. We'll put that in the chat again too, and we value your feedback. Now we have a few more minutes left here, and we like to give an opportunity for anyone here today to share activities or resources that you might find that others would be interested in across the state or in your region. So if you are able to raise your hand for this point, if you know how to do that through the React button on your menu bar. If you do have something that you'd like to share or announce, please be brief. You, of course, can also put that into the chat, especially if you have links for things. So if it's activities you want to announce, invite people to, and the link is on the website, there, earthquakecountry.org/March 26th. Again, the question about the certificate, you're gonna have to scroll down to the bottom to find the link to that certificate. So just pausing a moment if anybody would like to share anything for others to know about. While we kind of wait for that, what you can also be putting in the chat. We'd love to hear from this, and it's kind of like a good sense of, we like to do this with all our meetings. What's something that you learned, something that you'll do, something that you'll use, or something that you'll tell others about that you learned today, heard about today on today's webinar? Lars Eric, do you want to talk about that verbally, or just leave it in the chat, your event about your training series? I can try to find it here. I've allowed you to talk if you'd like to.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yes, we hear you.
Great. So if you guys take a look at the in the chat, you'll see the link there, but it's basically sfcard.org. So sfcard.org /prepareu 2026. That's PREPARU, as in the letter U, 2026. And Ron Halog and I have been doing this annually since 2019. It's an interleaved and ever-expanding set of trainings, starting with personal preparedness for yourself and your staff, expanding to organizations, incident command system, and continuity of operations. And it's being held at the Hayward Library, March 24th and 26th. If you go to that URL, all the details are there. And I'll just also mention there are also plans in place for a North version for the first time in the northern counties. So we're going to call that Prepare You North. And I'll drop my email in the chat too if anybody has any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lars. And Sheila, you raised your hand, and I've allowed you to talk if you'd like to share comments.
Hey there, I'll be quick. So maps are the bane of my existence. I'm an emergency preparedness coordinator, and I am tasked with giving out information, and I know a lot of information and I give out a lot of information, but when something is in a map, it is non-existent. And I have a solution. The solution is you can ArcGIS all you like, but please have an edit box where someone can enter an address and or a name of a city or something, some word, some phrase, and then have results come back as words. That's all I need.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And that way it is translatable. It can come out in different languages. Our heating cooling maps, our ArcGIS, our tsunami maps, our ArcGIS in color. Good job. Doesn't help if you're blind. I am totally blind. And a lot of the baby boomers are losing vision, losing hearing. Access and functional needs are growing, and we're not keeping up. And it's really frustrating because in a lot of ways, it's not that hard. The data comes in as words.
Yeah.
So just give us the words.
Thank you, Sheila. It does seem like it, you could type in an address and get a response. Are you in a zone or not?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But
Okay.
there's also I liked the not liked as in yoo-hoo, but I understand how on one side of the street they call you in the zone and on the other side of the street you're not. I deal a lot with CPUC fire maps, and on one side you're eligible for help and on the other side you're not. And yet the fire is not going to give a darn about that street. And whether you're on one side or the other, he's going to keep going the way he's going. So it's not as clear cut, and the maps don't get updated fast enough, which is another story. But this is just, I just want this in a reality room. I just want this this can be fixed pretty easily. Let's do it. There's no reason not to. 508 compliance is not optional. It is the law and has been for 30 plus years.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah.
There does seem to be some way through the website to type an address, but it pops up a text box. I know, or a pop-up box probably is also problematic, depending on ability to know that that's popped up. And also, I think that your message has been heard and will be looked at here. I just want to address the questions that people are asking again. The recording and the PowerPoint are not yet there on the website, but the only thing that's on the website now is the certificate. And there is I will show that here. Some people are asking how that works. So I'm going to show that screen here in a second. Okay, sorry about this. So you go to earthquakecountry.org/March26. If you scroll all the way down at the bottom, you'll see certificate of attendance. If you click that and it opens in your browser, it won't quite work the way that it says there. I mean, it potentially will, but it doesn't look like it's working. The best thing to do is first to right click, or however to download something from a link from a website, and then open that in a separate application, either Acrobat or other PDF viewers, and there you'll be able to type in your name, and basically click there, replace that text, and you'll have your own certificate. Hope that, and again, reach out to us if you have any questions or need to have that sent to you with your name already filled in. There is some response put into the map from Nick Grawl at CGS about digital accessibility statement. And there's a way of getting information there. So thank you, Nick. Okay. I think we are coming to the end, and I'm just going to share again a little more details. I can find the place on the screen where I have too many windows open right now. The couple final slides. So again, please do the survey. Really appreciate your responses. Helps us with future workshops, especially, really thoughtful comments that have been coming in today. And also really appreciate all that you were sharing about what you learned today. Will definitely helps us to know that we're making a difference and that you're getting good information. Again, how you can connect with us, of course, through our website, not just SoCal, also /Bay Area and other regions that you'll see on the website. Information in Spanish, as well as all of the other languages we have on our website, materials for you, and through social media. And I really appreciate our presenters today for their taking the time to share the information that they did. And for everybody who's attended, we'll go ahead and stay here for a few more minutes if anybody has further questions. But if you'd like to move on, please feel free. And we will be announcing future webinars and workshops through the Earthquake Country website and our email list. So definitely join us, earthquakecountry.org/join if you're not already on that list.